and chair of the Africa Union Summit, President Isufu, the champion of ACFTA, ministers present, our Secretary General of ACFTA, members of the private sector, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to welcome all of you to Kenya, to welcome all of you to the city of Nairobi, and to wish you very fruitful deliberations in this very important interaction between policymakers and our private sector in the context of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, a mechanism that will unlock the potential that exists for trade, for investment, for business in our continent, even as we work with the rest of the globe. Allow me, before I invite His Excellency, the President of Comoros and our Chair of Africa Union Summit, to take this opportunity just to volunteer some information to you. Number one, for those of us who are coming from the rest of this continent and beyond, Nairobi is a very interesting city. It is the only city with a national park within maybe 10, 15 minutes of drive from your hotel room. And being a national park, it is not a zoo. So we have wild animals there. We have leopards, we have lions, we have elephants, we have cheetahs. So just so that we are all safe, sometimes these wild animals break off the fence, and you might meet some of this wildlife next to your hotel room. Please be careful when, because they are not domesticated. Number two, let me also volunteer some information to you. Scientists, and I am one of them, have proven with scientific data and information that Kenya has the earliest remains of man. This is where humanity began. The Turkana boy, which is a phenomenon that is documented by science as the earliest ever found remains of human beings on planet Earth, is right here in Kenya. And therefore it is correct for me to tell all of you, welcome home. This is where we all began. And my minister has informed me that somehow some of our officials made you to pay visas to come home. And he asked me to apologize, which I do. When one comes home, they don't pay to come home. And I want to promise you that that might be the last time you are looking for a visa to come to Kenya. Because of two reasons. Number one, because this is home, and number two, because we support wholeheartedly the ACFTA, and we must remove any impediments to the movement of people around our continent. With those remarks, let me now take this opportunity to request my good brother, the President of Comoros, and the Chair of the Africa Union Summit, President Azali, to come and make his remarks. Mr. President. Let him come. Please, please, please. Thanks. Thank you.
Permettez-moi, avant de commencer mon allocution, remercier notre cher frère
Allow me to thank my dear friend and brother
d'avoir accepté de rembourser les visas qu'on a payés ici.
who has apologized for the sake of the visa that was paid.
Et lui dire que
This is to say,
il aura à s'expliquer à mon épouse parce que moi,
he
je vais
will
perdre
need to
mon
explain to my
passeport.
wife
Donc,
because
je vais
I
rester au
might
Kenya, je vais pas partir.
lose my passport. I will not go back to my country because this is home.
Monsieur le Président de la République du Kenya,
Your Excellency, sir,
mon frère
my brother,
William Ruto,
William
Excellence,
Ruto, Your Excellency,
Monsieur Mahamoud Youssouf,
Mr. Muhammad Yusuf,
cher frère,
dear
ami,
brother and friend,
ancien président de la République du Niger,
former president of the
champion
Niger
de la zone
and
de
champion
libre-échange du
of
continent africain.
Africa Free Trade Area,
Excellence, Monsieur
Your
Iberlan
Excellency
Mamfouki,
Iberla Manfubi,
président du Conseil des
President
ministres
of
de la
Ministers
ville de Cap,
Council of Africa Free Area
Son Excellence,
Trade,
Monsieur
Your Excellency Mr.
Wamkelemene,
Wamkelemene,
secrétaire général de la
General
ville de Cap,
Secretary of Africa Free Area
Excellence,
Trade, Your
Messieurs les
Excellency
des États membres de la
Ministers
zone de
of
libre-échange du
member
continent
states of
africain,
Africa Free Area
Mesdames et
Trade
messieurs les
Zone
représentants
countries, dear representatives
africains,
of Africa,
distingués invités,
Africa
assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
private
wa
sector.
barakatuh.
Wassalamu alaikum to you all.
Je voudrais en premier
May the
lieu
Lord God bless you. First of all,
adresser à mon
I
frère
would like to
William
speak
Ruto,
to my brother William
Président
Ruto,
de la
the
République du
President of the Republic of Kenya. My
chaleureux et
warm
sincère remerciement
and sincere
pour
gratitude
nous avoir invités
for
à cet
inviting
important
us to
rendez-vous
this important meeting
sur l'avenir de
on
l'économie
the
de
future
notre
of
continent.
African economy.
Mes chaleureux et
My
vifs
warmth
remerciements
and
vont également
gratitude also
à
go
l'endroit du
to
peuple
the people
et du gouvernement
and
du
the
Kenya
government of Kenya
pour l'accueil
for the
fraternel
warmth
et
and
chaleureux
fraternity kind
nous a
of
été réservé,
welcome
ma
that
délégation et
was
moi-même,
given to me and my delegation
arrivée dans ce
since
beau
we
pays
arrived in this beautiful
et pour
country
toutes les
and for
facilités
all the facilities
mises à
that have
notre
been put in
disposition
place for our
pour
services
assurer
to
la
ensure
réussite
that
de cette
this
rencontre.
conference is a success.
J'adresse ensuite
I also
mes vives félicitations
do want to thank
Secretariat
the
de la
Secretariat
zone de
of
libre-échange du
Africa
continent
Free
africain
Area Trade
sous la direction de
with
son
under
secrétaire
the
général
leadership of its Secretary General Wam Kelemene
pour la bonne
for
organisation
the
de ce
good
dialogue
organization of this
avec le secteur
dialogue
privé
with the Africa private
et de la
sector
retraite des
and
ministres
with the
du commerce,
Ministers Council
de la ZLECAF
within the Africa Free Area Trade,
Représentant du
the
secteur
representative
privé
of Africa
Je salue votre
private sector.
participation
I
à ce
am
dialogue.
happy to see your participation in
Ainsi
this
que votre
dialogue
grande
and
disponibilité
your
qui
availability,
témoigne de l'intérêt
which testifies
que vous
the
portez
interest
au
that you
développement de
have
notre
for the
continent,
development of our
gage de
continent,
paix, de sécurité
for
et
peace,
de
security, and stability.
stabilité. Honorable assistance, mesdames et messieurs,
Dear all, our continent is facing so many challenges in its growth towards a socio-economical development
durable et harmonieux.
and harmonious one.
Il y a quelques années,
Some years back,
nous avons connu
we
une des plus grandes crises
experienced some of the greatest
sanitaires de notre
crises
histoire liées à la
in
pandémie
terms
de
of
Covid-19
COVID pandemic,
et qui a ébranlé
which
toutes
has
les
destroyed
économies
so
de
many
nos
of
pays.
our economies in the countries.
Aujourd'hui,
Today,
nous faisons face
we
aux conséquences
face the consequences
de la crise
of this
russo-ukrainienne
crisis.
avec tous
Then
les
there is
impacts
the
que nous savons
Ukrainian war with all the
sur la
impacts that
paix
it
et la
has.
sécurité
We
dans le
know
monde,
its impact
mais
on
aussi
peace in the
et
in the
surtout
world,
sur la
and
sécurité
especially
alimentaire
food
dans
security
notre continent.
in our beloved continent of Africa.
Ainsi, nous
And
devons
now
tout mettre en
we
œuvre
need to all come together, ensure our autonomy in all the sectors by strengthening our capacities, our production capacities, not only to avoid lack of stocks, but also to add value to our primary resources and create employment. But these objectives can never be reached without proper coordinations of our efforts in order to reach economic freedom and develop new strategies on this in order to protect ourselves, protect our countries today and in the future. And so, I am very happy seeing the dialogue we have here with the private sector. This is a good platform to engage for the betterment of the implementation of Africa Free Area Trade. This dialogue is crucial because, as we all know, the private sector in the continent is very principal in the acceleration of Africa Free Area Trade, and I do believe that they own this dialogue and they will devote themselves in all the processes for a quick and successful implementation of a common project. Dear representatives of Africa private sector, we have always wanted and always had the desire to have a strengthening of capacities within the region and the continent through intra-trade and employment creation, through women entrepreneurship, youth and women entrepreneurship. This will help these said part of our populations to be alienated from any form of extremism. Today, with the opportunities that the Africa Free Area Trade Zone is creating, we have space for investment and business trade among countries to bring about prosperity. It is therefore time for our leaders and you private sector to share in all truth in order to overcome every obstacle that hinders us from moving in an inclusive manner towards a strong and durable economic front in the continent. You do incarnate the true life, social life and economical life of our continent with all the production, 2/3 of its investments, 3/4 of its credits, and you are employing about 90% of its population, of its dynamic population. With this, you are then a good platform for the development of our socio-economical and ecological position of our continent. Working in synergy together, we can become a catalyst for a durable economy. It is very important for Africa Free Area Trade in terms of opportunity of trade and investment. It is time to demonstrate the will to move. And for this potentiality to become fully implemented, it is very important that the Africa private sector, particularly small and medium enterprises, should own Africa Free Area Trade Zone and move with its processes. With this, I do congratulate the efforts that the Secretariat of Africa Free Area Trade has taken in partnership with the Center of International Commerce. Honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, to overcome the challenge within Africa Free Area Trade Zone and to maximize their potentialities, we have developed a favorable ecosystem for the production of of goods and services for our space as integrated market. Once more, we need to put in place tools that will accompany, necessary tools that will accompany the realization of this, and this will have a positive and durable impact on the continent. Things like new technology and also blue economy that constitutes a great opportunity in terms of investment and income. It is in this sense that Amoroni in the Comoros 14th to 12th to 14th of next month will be meeting on the blue area, blue market, and we do encourage African ministers of trade and industry to integrate the implementation of Africa Free Area Trade Zone in their agenda and to prepare themselves to overcome the challenges and seize the opportunities that this free area trade zone in the continent of Africa gives. It is good to integrate totally. This will offer great reward to our beloved continent. The place for the African Union, the protocol of Africa Free Area Trade, the right of intellectual property and confidentiality is part of a great move towards the realization of this dream. And in our engagement, government should work hand in hand with the private sector, with the civil society and our citizens, in order for the Africa Free Area Zone not fail by only being an illusion. The partnership, public-private partnership, is very important for our durable growth in funding all the technical assistance. This will allow African countries and industries to develop and grow and help us reach our goal of Africa, developed Africa for Africans. And with this, I would like to say there is need to institutionalize a dialogue with Africa private sector in the implementation of Africa Free Area Trade. It will be a good model in the area. My country, Comoros, has begun the process of dialogue, public-private dialogue, putting in place a platform of regular exchanges. These exchanges today is very beneficial to my country. Ladies and gentlemen, actors of private sector, for Africa Free Area Trade to be operational, all our countries should move in the ratification of its treaty. It is the advocacy we are doing now, and we are convinced that remaining countries will join us in this good move, that together we shall make this ambition a success and business opportunity for our beloved continent and companies and people in particular, and the youth and African women. Before finishing, I want to congratulate my dear brother Mamadi Sufu, present here. This opportunity, this great opportunity to have him as champion of this major ambition that we have. I know him very well. He has always invested himself for the interest of Africa, and I do thank him and ask you all to clap for him and encourage him so that we shall all reach this great work. Once more, my brother Ruto, thank you for this warm welcome. Thank you all. Applaudissons pour le président Ousmane. S'il vous plaît, regagnez vos places.
Let me just take a few moments to recognize all of us leaders who are present here, and to again welcome you to Nairobi and Kenya, to this historic meeting because I am a great believer that we are at a historic juncture in world development in which Africa is emerging as a focal point of important global discourse. This is therefore a crucial opportunity for us in Africa to define the terms and conditions under which we shall pursue African self-sufficiency in order to actualize the African right to self-determination. I see this as an underlying expectation as well as the fundamental philosophy of the Africa we want. The cardinal aspirations underpinning the Africa Union's Agenda 2063 are the output of sustained deliberation. They also require us to engage in deeper analysis through inclusive deliberation in order to clarify the path by which Africa will arrive at its place as the global economic powerhouse of the very near future. It often appears as though matters canvassed at the AU level are purely and exclusively intergovernmental. Yet nothing could be further from the truth. The economy, development, and self-sufficiency are multisectoral and interconnected concerns that must be pursued through collaboration and consultation by all stakeholders in the public as well as the private sectors at the domestic, regional, as well as continental levels. It is through robust dialogue, guided by this understanding, that we have made progress in developing and implementing a blueprint for the realization of Africa's aspirations. Recognizing that the contribution of the private sector is vital to Africa's socio-economic transformation,